Well, good day, and welcome to the Committee of the Whole for November the 13th, 2019. And just like to let everyone know that we are meeting on the traditional lands of the Shuswap Nation. So I guess I'll call to order the meeting. We'll adopt the agenda for today. Okay, everybody in favor? Yes. Okay, we're good to go. No declarations of conflict here at the table. No, we're good. Okay, appointments and delegations. Don't have any of those. Okay. New business? Any new business? No. Okay. Business items. Okay. We have a report from Shibona Smith with regards to relocating the Sechelt Community Archives. Oh, move receipt. Receipt. Okay. All second. All in favor. There we go. Okay, I guess.
Thank you. I would just like to make note that in the audience today, we do have Ann Watson, the archivist for the Community Archives, as well as Mike Clement, president of the board of directors for the Sunshine Coast Museum and Archives. So before you is a report regarding the possibility of relocating the Sechelt Community Archives. This is something that has been brought to the attention of council, both by the archivist and by the Sechelt Library Board. There is an immediate need to move at least a portion of the collection just to make the room safe for staff to work in. But looking longer term, we do need to decide whether or not we are going to be relocating the entire collection, and if so, what direction we're taking in terms of looking for a new space for that collection. The temporary storage available to us at this time in buildings that we own would really only be suitable for a very temporary move. And so the cost that's quoted in recommendation 2 is based on a quote that was provided to us by a moving company simply to move the collection once. So if we are moving the collection multiple times, that would increase the cost. And of course, the cost will vary depending on where it's being moved to. So in terms of, are we going up and down stairs, that sort of thing. Along with any move, we should also be considering some long-term strategic planning, and particularly some succession planning, and also some planning in regards to ultimately who will be governing this collection. So not just staffing it, but actually a board that oversees it, and whether or not it would remain as is, which is it's not its own entity. So the collection relies on the District of Sechelt for any additional funding not provided by the regional district, or whether it would be taken under the wing of another organization, perhaps another organization with a similar mandate, or a new organization started up for the purpose of managing this collection. So again, that would be more longer-term strategic planning that should take place at the same time as any move. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the report or the recommendations. And, if need be, you're also can rely on Ann Watson, who's the expert, the only archivist we've ever had for these archives. So any question you have about them, she can answer.
Mayor Figures.
Thank you. So in number 2, your recommendation number 2, you say that we recommend council allocate $13.50 to cover the expense of temporarily relocating into storage, but you indicate that's the cost to move once. What would be where would we actually look at storing them temporarily for these use, and what's the cost for that?
An option that I identified in the report on page 6 of the report is to make use of the empty rooms in Rockwood Lodge. A portion of the collection that's stored in filing cabinets and could be raised slightly from the ground, could be placed in the basement storage room, and then other boxes and files and such could be placed in some of the offices upstairs. This would mean that none of those parts of the collection would be accessible. So it would really only be suitable for very temporary move, and I wouldn't recommend that people try to access the collection while it's in those spaces. It would really just be a temporary storage. We have not investigated other storage opportunities in buildings that we do not own. We've only looked at our own buildings.
Councillor Scott, you,
the way I see it is we need to move forward and find a new home for this. So it's I would move that recommendation 2 and 3 go forward.
yeah, Mayor Seegers, you going to second that? Okay, all in favor? Okay. We're good. You have a comment?
So that's that we allocate money in the budget for temporarily relocating, and that we recommend that council identify the goal of finding a new permanent home, but we need to deal with the in-between time. So the next one is looking for a medium-term solution, which could potentially be storefront space in downtown Sechelt. And that we recommend, the next one is that we approach local educational and or cultural institutions to explore the possibility of co-locating archives, and that we include space considerations in future discussions with developers. I'll move the rest of the recommendations.
Do you have a second? Yeah. Councillor McLean?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what our support looks like right now for the archives from the District of Sechelt. Can you outline, like, do we provide funding? I guess we provide the space, or the library provides the space?
So the library provides the space.
Okay.
The library administratively manages payroll. And the library also provides services such as use of the photocopier. We host the website. The Wi-Fi and telephone are within the building as well. So there's a number of items like that are currently supported in kind or directly through either District of Sechelt and or the library. The regional district provides the funding to pay for the archivist to be there 1 day a week. We also provide support so that at times when the archives has wanted to apply for grants, so for instance, there's provincial funding for digitizing portions of archival collections, and we've been successful in obtaining a couple of grants through that on behalf of the archives.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is our support is fairly minimal right now towards the archives. And I'm just looking at these medium-term solutions, and they would likely need to include some further funding, likely from the District of Sechelt. So that's just something to think about moving forward.
Mayor Seegers?
Thank you. Have any conversations happened with the regional district, given that the funding for the archivist is funded by all of the Sunshine Coast? I haven't got, yeah, Mike's shaking his head back there. All of the Sunshine Coast contributes to the wages for the archivist. So going forward, are we looking at having conversations? Have we had conversations?
I have not, and as far as I know, no one else has. On an annual basis, a budget for the archives is submitted at the same time that the Sechelt Library budget is submitted, and that's usually the only contact we really have. Usually the SCRD does write to us to ask for clarification on governance of the archives when it comes to budget time.
Mayor Siggers?
So we have a resource, we have materials. The regional district has taken on funding the staffing. We need to find a space for our materials. The library kindly has housed them for many, many, many years and now need the space. So I think there may be some other conversations to have going forward. You shake his head again, yes. I mean, there are conversations to have, and I mean, there are conversations happening in the community about long-term. I know the Gibson's Museum as well is looking for additional space. Sunshine Coast Museum, yes. Regional Museum is looking for more space. Thank you. So there's a bigger conversation to have. The medium term, I think, would buy us some of that time to have those conversations. And there would have to be a budget item coming forward.
Yeah, so the idea is that, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here. So depending on a lot of things, mostly where this ends up, and it will really determine the needs in terms of budgeting. But ideally at this stage, we just want the commitment from council that this is something that is a priority that we're going to work on both in the immediate short term and medium to long term. And so hopefully finding a good solution at all those stages.
Any comments or any more comments? Okay, I've just got one, and so the Lady Rose has arrived in Sechelt, and it might be an idea to be in touch with them to see what their plans are, or try to get our foot in the door. I'm sure putting our archives in a boat on the ocean probably isn't the best place to put them, but you know, if it does become a land-based museum or whatever it becomes, it might be a potential there.
Yes, thank you. And I think the idea here is that once we know that this is a priority for council, then we can go about beginning those discussions with all different community partners that might be a good fit for the archives.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Oh. Okay. So, okay, for recommendations 4, 5, 6, do we have a seconder for that? We do already? Okay. Oh, all in favor? Okay, let's get her done. We get to move on. 5.2, third quarter departmental progress reports. Oh my God. Pardon me?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The report before you is the third quarter progress report for the entire organization. The report is fairly self-explanatory, but the SMT thought they would walk you through some of the highlights, just to give you an overview of where we're at this point. So I'll kick it off, and then the other three will go after. So starting with communications, it's been a very busy year for communications. Our new communications officer has settled in and started to get the infrastructure in place to improve our communication with the public. So we've taken a very strategic approach to that, looking at the different kinds of policies and tools that we can start to use. Our social media engagement has increased greatly under our new officer, so that's been a definite plus. We now have a public engagement toolkit that each of the departments has been given training on, so that will help with their individual engagement with the public as they go forward. And you're starting to see that change already in the public open houses that we've been having, the Have Your Say days and things like that. We are increasing our collaboration with a number of the organizations within the community, such as the SDBA and the Tourism Association under Julie. Correspondence still takes up a great deal of our time, strangely enough. It's increased from 455 pieces in 2018 to 621 in 2019, and it keeps the administration department very busy answering all of these inquiries. Of that number, 40 are from one person alone. And in the entire messaging coming through our offices, 176 came from one person alone. So you can understand that we're kept quite busy with some of this sort of stuff. And Carrie Ann takes care of most of that vis-a-vis the mayor's office, but the rest of staff are finding themselves spending more and more time answering inquiries from the public of one kind or another. Arts and culture continues to be an incredibly busy department. It's a one-woman show. We support an incredible number of projects and events every year, which most of you are familiar with, from the Writers' Festival to Canada Day and so on. Added to that over the last while has been reconciliation programming with our First Nation neighbors, the Shashal, and Siobhan's taken that on behalf of the district as well, and that's added greatly to her workload. But there's some great stuff coming out of the reconciliation efforts. In June, we welcomed a new member to the team in the form of a facilities coordinator. Bookings in all of our facilities are up already, which is a really good sign that this was a good idea and it's paying off. It's also given us a window into the facilities and their state of repair and whatnot, and we're working very hard now on producing work plans for their maintenance and care and getting a good budget understanding of what we're going to be looking to have to do in the future for those facilities. And we've had assistance both from Public Works, Parks, and the building department on some of that, but there's more work to do. One of the changes we made in 2019 was to bring corporate services back under the administration office of the CAO handle, where it's normally kept. I think with all the changes that occurred in the past number of years, it sort of made sense to keep it all under one guy. But now we're back to a more normal situation now that Doug has left us. So I work closely with Joanne now on the corporate services end of things. Also a very, very busy department. Corporate services handles all of the contracts and agreements that the district enters into, handles all of the legal issues that we deal with. We put a tremendous amount of work in over the last year and a bit on the on-base records management system, which has come a long, long way and is starting to get loaded up. The finance department is now completely loaded into the system. We're now working on administration, heading over to planning after that. It's a big job. At the same time, the departments are working together to find out or discover what systems can be made paperless. One of the first to go was the, what do you call it? The PO system, sorry. So that's working out quite well, but we'll be looking to do more down the road. Building inspection will be another one that'll end up going paperless fairly quickly, I would think. In addition to that, we'll also be working on the scanning and eliminating our paper files now that are taking up space in the in a trailer near the Water Resource Center, which is not the best archiving system in the. Well, too bad they left. I would have been able to tell you more about that. But anyway, we're working on that and trying to get some of our older records scanned in and move that over. So that's good. On the HR front, we hired a new HR manager a couple of months ago. She's currently working in a part-time capacity as she finishes up some other things, but things are working out quite well. We're at a point now where I think we only have 2 vacant positions. One is at the Water Resource Center, and the other one is with the Dusty Road system. So HR is well under control. We're very happy with the progress we've made there.
Yes, it's been a very busy year for our division. We like building things and tearing things apart. We completed 2 sewer expansion programs, West Sechelt to A06 and West Porpoise Bay A02. It was quite a learning experience for us as we encountered some difficulties with those projects. We focused our paving program on Sechelt Inlet Road this year, and we completed a needs assessment for the Public Works and Parks Operations Center. We're in the process of reviewing different methods of construction, and it looks quite promising. We just completed the RCMP roof replacement, and it went quite well. We have several major projects still on the go, and we're working on those. Trail Avenue reconstruction. Construction is going to start in December on that major project. The sewer functional plan for Davis Bay, Selma Park, and Wilson Creek, that's ongoing. And the liquid waste management plan, stage 2 update is also continuing. Bylaw 430, the subdivision servicing bylaw, is progressing nicely. And again, we're working on the airport runway expansion and the resurfacing project. Also, Trail Bay Boulevard concept design we're working on, and that's going to be provided for public engagement. These are just some of the major projects that we're working on and continue to work on, and a complete list is in the financial report for council's review. And of course, we're working on the 2020 budget. Thank you.
Hello. 2019 has also been an interesting year in the Planning and Development Department as well. A number of new faces, both in planning and in building inspection. And at present, with the we have a full roster with our present allotment. And as a result, we're making some improvements and some advancements on some files and processes. In the last couple of months, we really made some significant advancements on new zoning bylaw 580, which we hope to present at a public council in short order. Also a web-based development tracker system for folks to look at on a map showing properties under development, different types of development. So it should be easier for council, for applicants, for interested members of the public to track what's happening in the community. We're getting close on that. As community of the whole and future council has seen, we've made some suggested minor updates to the procedure bylaw to add efficiency to how we review development applications. Of course, work has been started on community amenity and affordable housing policy, and we will be reporting back on that. We've created a checklist for complex commercial buildings so that it's more clear at the time of application what is to be expected from an applicant when architects are involved, when engineers need to be involved, as well as clarifying the process for giving final permit and final inspection for buildings to streamline that as well. We've also started some background work and research on the impending official community plan review, which we plan to start in 2020. Other policy project initiatives are the ongoing childcare assessment. We're diving into the housing needs assessment with Town of Gibson's and Regional District. The RFP for professional consultants is now closed, and we're reviewing submissions, and we'll be excited to take next steps on that. Staff in planning and in parks are reviewing the next phase of the Suncoaster Trail and the future route and development possibilities of that. As council well knows, cannabis bylaw amendments have been complete, and we are prepping and reviewing the referrals we received from the province. And work plan for 2020 is well underway, and it is full of items which are here and plus more. With respecting development, page 50 of the agenda shows a number of the development applications that are on file at the moment that are keeping us busy. There are certainly a number underway. 75 new residential units have been added to our roll in 2019 to date within 3 quarters. And the total construction value, estimated value of construction through 3 quarters is at $22 million, which does trend well over the 5-year trend. And we are ongoing and new applications are expected. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So the Financial Services Department looks after not only the finances of the district, but also the information technology. And as everybody has stated, our department's quite busy as well. And so as to highlight a few items that we've been successful at. This year we've met all our legislated financial reporting deadlines to date, and we don't expect that to change. Again, this year we've avoided the annual tax sale and so this would be the 7th year in a row. And this was through diligent tax collections and, you know, working with people that were in delinquent status. We were looking, as a new director, you know, I'm continually looking at little improvements here and there, and we're currently going through the budgeting from department to department, and so we'll be continually working with the departments to find efficiencies as we go forward. We've been also cross-training some staff, or we'll be doing more cross-training with staff so that we have proper backup for certain individuals, and really for succession planning as well. As Andrew talked about, we're kind of the first department on with the filing system. The filing system has been here for a number of years and has had some struggles to get going. I think we're rolling from my perspective. The filing system for the finance department is fully set up, and we are still loading, and we'll probably be loading for a little bit more time. But the nice thing is we're actually, there's records there that we don't need to be keeping either. So we're weeding through some of those records and you know, deleting what we don't need to keep, and making sure the permanent records, or the records that need to be stored for a number of years, are on the new system. Also, you know, last few months we've been, you know, helping other departments with reports, or contributing to reports of other departments as well as our own. Our IT staff have been working with Andrew's staff on the development tracker, and also IT is heavily involved with the GIS system, so we've been working there as well. And we are always challenged to review bylaws and policies, and so you'll probably see a couple of more bylaws come through to council, and a couple more policies coming through, just as looking at best practices and trying to bring that forward through to council. And I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Any questions for Councillor Scott?
Just a question for engineering. On that West Seashell project road, have all the suppliers been paid up yet?
Thank you. Yes, AO6 is now substantial completion. It's 99% completed the work.
Okay, but so there were some suppliers that were outstanding. They hadn't
Oh
been
yeah,
paid yet?
that we all the vendors, subcontractors for Bear Creek, we asked them to contact the bonding company to resolve the issues.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor,
I can expand a little bit more. So with every project we do, we have a bonding, performance bonding, and in place, so that if you know, we have some issues with a project, there's enough funds to carry on and complete the project. This project has had some difficulties, and we have had a few suppliers not paid to date. And I think about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, we worked through what the process needs to be for them. And this bond is accessible by them, not by us. So they had to apply, anybody outstanding has to apply to the bonding company for the funds. And I know there has been contact both ways, from the bonding company back to the suppliers. But I know they haven't all been paid yet. And the bond is in the district's name, so if we have to get involved, we will. Guaranteed.
Thank you.
Councillor McLean.
Yeah, just a bit of a comment of two trends I noticed as we're going through. One is improving the interactions that we have with everyone that comes in contact with the district. I see a good effort at that in several different areas. And I think that's a really good thing for our community. So I want to thank staff for working on that. The other is digitization. That's another thing that I know takes a whole lot of work. But it will reap rewards in the years to come. So I want to thank staff for that one as well.
Mayor Seegers.
Thank you. I'll start with engineering. You mentioned trails starting in December. We're working on the sewer functional plan, liquid waste management plan, bylaw 430. Any kind of timelines for those? Do we have anything?
Thank you. For Trail Avenue construction, this Friday we are going to have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor, and we put the deadline to complete by July 31st, 2020 for phase 1. And by that time, we're trying to find additional funding to complete the project as we previously proposed. Sewer functional plan, for Davis Bay area, the consultants provided the draft report for the district. So we are doing a review the draft report, and there are some few concerns from us, the growth prediction, what they propose, and we are now working with the planning that growth projection is consistent with the district growth projections. So this is the one of the key area we are now reviewing. The other one is this. Now the proposed sewer lines coming through highway. We are trying to find out the other option. We are working with them the feasibility study for sewer on offshore area to bring that one. The other one is liquid waste management plan stage 2. We had the council workshop, council meeting, and now we have to establish a few committees. We send the letters to SCRD and Seychelles First Nations to nominate from their side for these committees. Once they nominate, and district also nominate the elected officials and staff for two different committee. One is technical committee and advisory committee. Once we establish that, once a month we bring that to council adoption, the committees. So after that we meet every month. Sometimes the Ministry of Environment representatives come for that, and our consultants will be there, and we discuss the liquid waste management plan stage 2 updates, and based on the committee's recommendation, we can't tell the time now based on the scope of work and the lengthy process, and we need to do some couple of public consultation and First Nation consultation. We did that one separately, so this is longer term, maybe 2020 or 2021 first quarter can be finished that.
Bylaw 430, I understand, I know you had the consultation with the development community. So
Yeah,
what are next steps on that?
Yeah, so I forgot the date. We gave a deadline for them to send the feedback. Some of the people send the feedback. Once we receive everything, then our consultant review the feedback, and then they incorporate it to the bylaw, and we'll bring the draft bylaw to the council for council consideration.
Any more questions for staff? Mayor.
Thank you. This is IT. So we have OnBase, and we have another program that the we've got GIS, you've got on-base, you've got the document management, CityWorks, right. I understand that one of the modules in CityWorks, I believe, yeah, on-base is the document management, right? So in CityWorks, would allow the developer to actually follow the process online. So it could be a two-way street where, you know, we say, yes, we've done this piece, we're waiting for you to provide this, et cetera. Is that something that we're looking at? Is that something down the road?
Yeah. So IT has been working with Andrew on a development tracker, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're tying a dashboard into CityWorks, and we'll be on our website in the very near future.
So does that have two levels? One where the community can actually go in and see bits and pieces of it, but another level where you actually, the developer, I mean, there's confidential stuff in there in cases.
Yeah, both the public and developer will have access to the information.
Do we know a timeline? I mean, I know we've had this for, I don't know, 6 years.
Yeah, I was told it's imminent. So, you know, there's always, you know, when you think you're ready to go live, there's always something that may pop up. So it was intended to be this week. And if everything goes well, it will be this week. If
not, then...
Yeah,
okay.
It's very, very close.
Right. Okay, then one other piece. We have been talking about ensuring our processes are actually digital. So I know IT has been working in that, or finance has been working in that, where it's not, a lot of the stuff is now being done digitally. So it doesn't have to necessarily be printed, because part of our issue all the time is some of the stuff comes in electronically, we print it out and we store it. We can store that electronically. We don't even have to print it out. So those processes are starting to change over. Is finance there yet, where it's all digital? And if not, you know, and if you are, great. If not, timeframes and what's next?
So with OnBase, we're basically the first department on. So some of the documents we get affect other people. So although it's stored electronically and there's a place for it, yes, we may have to print it off. That doesn't mean the original will be filed. It's only filed electronically. So yes, so there should be less files on the wall, just due to the fact that we are storing electronically and not having to store in paper format.
Mr. Chair, may I just add that finance is the department right now that we're concentrating on with OnBase, but I can say that over the last 2 years, we have uploaded into OnBase a number of administrative documents, all our bylaws, agreements, et cetera, and we've actually gone so far as to shred the paper copies of some of these historic agendas, et cetera. So behind the scenes for the last couple of years, administration has been doing some work there too. Thanks.
I guess what I'm getting at is when you look at doing a digital process. I mean, I started doing that years ago in my business. I was probably one of the first to do it. People couldn't understand how I did it and why I did it. But it also requires resources, right? It requires resources for manipulating documents, you know, adding pages, taking away pages, marking up sheets, etc. Inside of the processes that you're looking at, we would need to expect to have budget implications coming forward for. I mean, if you're talking about having your building inspectors doing on-site and doing them digitally, well, they'll need something to do that with. So inside of that work, if you're looking at the different departments, are we going to be seeing some of that background request come forward for the financial piece to support it?
Yes, you'll definitely start to see that show up in the various budget areas. Each department has been over the last while looking at which processes should they try to deal with first, get some sort of priority for them, where would be the greatest bang for the buck or benefit time-wise, that sort of thing. So that'll start to come. In some cases, the machinery needed can be absorbed into supply budgets that they already have. So it's a matter of doing some of that costing out now, talking to some other jurisdictions to see what their experience is. The building inspection is a simple one, actually. It's one that a multitude of other jurisdictions have been doing for years. There's fairly simple machinery. It's not overly expensive in some cases, so we'll be looking at all of that in the coming bit. Our biggest issue right now is simply human capacity. We just don't have the manpower to do this, so people fit it in as they can and amongst other things. That'll be the biggest holdup that we have to all of this.
Any other questions for staff? Yeah. Okay, I've got a couple of things here. I just want to, I'm kind of nitpicking a little bit here, but just on the development applications here. Oh, I don't know. 50, yeah. There's three, there's the RTC project, which was Bounty, yes, whatever, RTC, yeah, so Shorncliffe and the Van Key projects. I'm just wondering, and then there's the Wade project also. I'm just kind of wondering with those three, are the development permits going to lapse fairly soon on any of those, or where would we happy with those projects?
Yes, thank you. The projects remain active to varying degrees. Respecting the Wade development, he has engaged a new architect, provided a preliminary redesign. So that's underway. We're working at the staff level. We'll be reporting back. RTC, Shorncliffe, since I've been here in my relatively short time, I've spoken with them about increasing and decreasing the density and coming up with various options. Have not yet met face-to-face with them, but have had communication. And third one being Van Key, Davis Bay. I myself have not had direct contact, but hopeful that one will continue to go ahead as it plays a key part of the functional sewer plan for the area. Yeah, thank you.
I just the Van Key one, I think it if that got underway, it would open up a lot of opportunities in that community. I think there's other developers waiting for that. So, okay, thank you very much, Councillor Toth.
Sure, just a quick one since we're asking about projects. On that same page, page 50, the Lurch and McCarter 10-lot industrial subdivision. I'm just wondering where that one's at, because I don't recall having seen anything on that.
Excellent question. It's on this list here. It is an application we have spent time on within 2019, but I can say that there has not been significant development in that file in the past 3 months within the third quarter and to date, but it remains an active file and we're hopeful to continue to pursue that one. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay.
Just a comment. Thank you for all the work, for all of you that you put into this. There's so much material in here, and this really shows the day-to-day effort that you're all putting in that we don't see, the community doesn't see. There's a large volume in here. So when people say, you know, what are you doing? Like, why haven't you gotten back to me? Well, we'll point them to this report and say, here, this is what they're doing. They are working. There's a lot happening. Thank you.
Chair, although we didn't offer the recommendation on the first page, it would be appropriate to receive the report just for in the minutes so that it shows that it was received.
Second, yeah. All in favor? There we go. waiting for Councillor Toth to show up. Okay. Yeah, move 5.3, the financial report. Should we receive the report? Okay, all in favor? We've got her. Great, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My report today presents the district's third quarter financial statements to provide the committee an update on the district's financial activity for the period January 1st to September 30th. Overall, we're on track this year for third quarter with revenue expenses, with expenses being 71% and revenue 105% collected through the year. The overage for revenue at 105% includes $465,000 received in addition for gas tax funding, and $156,000 that was brought into revenue from the Seashell Innovations Limited bank account. So we closed that bank account and brought it into revenue, and neither of those items were expected in revenue. And the remainder of revenue for it being at 105% is because taxes and sewer and garbage are all billed with the tax notice in May. So most of that revenue is seen through the income at third quarter. One of the larger highlights for this year at third quarter is that we've seen a decline in building permit, planning, and engineer service revenue. We're projecting a shortfall of $309,000 to be offset by a vacancy in engineering by approximately $75,000. We anticipated a decrease in the planning revenue for the year, and we had adjusted the budget to $100,000. However, that that still was forecasted too high. When either of these revenues are expected or less than is expected, we may offset the shortfall with a transfer from the Development Equalization Reserve. So this reserve is set up in past years when we've received revenue that has exceeded budget, and we have the option to offset the years which we receive a shortfall in the revenue. So the use of this reserve with the final numbers would come forward to council to approve the use of the reserve to offset the overage with a financial plan bylaw amendment before the end of the year or early in next year once we see where the numbers settle. The report includes just a 5-year history of each of these revenues, and you can see that that we're kind of going back to numbers and revenue expected in 2015. It's interesting to see these trends. Salaries and benefits are on track to finish the year below budget. We're currently at 66% due to a few vacancies and the timing for hiring them. The report includes the expected carry forward projects for the year. These projects are in progress, and we anticipate that they will not be completed before the year end. Of the larger carry forward projects, the Public Works Building is revisiting options to proceed. So we will be requesting that those funds are carried forward to the following year. The airport runway resurfacing project has completed the final design, and costs are estimated to be much higher than anticipated. We are going to bring a report forward to council with the next options to proceed. So we're just getting some further information from the BC Air Access Program, and then we'll be summarizing options and bringing those to council hopefully before the end of the month or first thing in December. And as Sanath had mentioned, the construction for the Trail Avenue project is expected to start in December, so that would be another large carry forward that we recommend for 2020. The first attachment to the report includes a variance which compares the 2019 third quarter with the third quarter in 2018. The report starts with our segmented information to show the government functions, both for the general and sewer fund. This allowed a more detailed report. This is followed by a more detailed report of the functions with variance notes to explain any large variances throughout, anything that's notable. The second attachment includes the capital status report. This report provides the capital project status with the budget and a comparison of where we're at year to date. This also has a column which says committed values. The committed values represents those which are committed to purchase orders. So we haven't yet expense these funds. However, the funds are committed and the invoice or the work hasn't been completed yet. If there are any questions pertaining to the operating reports, I'd be happy to answer them. And any questions for the capital project status updates, I may refer to staff who are in attendance. Thank you.
Any questions for finance? Oh. Councillor McLean.
I'm just going to give a quick comment about a capital project. One of the ones that was a focus was the West Seashell Elementary traffic and parking. I note that the project has been cancelled. I also note that I received an invite to a funding announcement at the elementary school on Friday. So I think those two might be connected.
Mayor Siggers.
I noticed we have a boat. It's good.
Yes.
Have we had to use it?
We're getting ready to go out and remove some buoys and stuff. We've been trying to get out, but just due to the weather, it came in under budget pretty good too.
I know, that looks good. All right.
Any further questions? Any comments or? Oh my God. McLean.
Thank you. The Class 5 truck, plow and salter. I see it's going to be, we're going to receive the vehicle during Q4. Is there any setup after that? Like, will we possibly have this thing ready to go to plow roads in January?
I just got off the phone today with the builder. The truck's arriving at their yard today or tomorrow. It'll be completed and hopefully delivered to us by the end of next week.
And that's 100% ready to go.
100% ready to go.
Good news.
Mayor Siggers.
Ebbtide Dog Park. I know the RFP closed for the fencing. Any idea on timing?
We have a successful proponent for the job. We will see how fast they can do it. I've got a call in. I haven't received a call back yet. So fencing doesn't take long to put up, but the Trail Avenue reconstruction will affect the alignment of the fence. So there might have to be a temporary realignment, and then at the end of it, put where it ultimately should be. So.
Okay, and what happens when those buildings move? So there's those portables still on the site. Those are slated to be moved at some point, right?
The idea is that the dog park could expand beyond its existing footprint. So the fencing will be constructed in such a way that it could be added on if the archives was to move. And as far as I know, there's no plan to move the workshop or the Quonset at this point.
Okay,
So
thank
we
you.
could gain a little more space.
Anyone else? Okay, if not seeing any further questions, we can call for adjournment. All in favor? I should have put my hand up first. But,